Sharp criticism yesterday from Justice Clarence Thomas of the 2015 Obergefell Supreme Court decision recognizing the right to same-sex marriage and a prediction that until fixed by the High Court, it will continue to have, quote, ruinous consequences for religious liberty. The statement comes as the High Court denies review of an appeal by former clerk Kim Davis, who refused to issue marriage licenses in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision because of her religious objections. In a statement accompanying the denial of Davis's petition, Justice Thomas, joined by Justice Samuel Alito, writes, the Obergefell decision, quote, enables courts and governments to brand religious adherents who believe that marriage is between one man and one woman as bigots, making their religious liberty concerns that much easier to dismiss. Join me now on Skype to take a closer look at this is Andrea Picciotti-Bear, director of the Conscious Project. Andrea, welcome back. Always so good to see you. So both Justice Thomas and Justice Alito agreed with the decision not to hear the case, but took the opportunity to speak out about the Obergefell decision. What are your thoughts on yesterday's opinion, and what stands out the most to you?
You know, I think it's very interesting. It's very interesting that Justice Thomas and Alito are out in front on the issue of religious freedom, and mentioning again that people who hold a traditional understanding of marriage are not bigots. And that's a very important thing to put out there, especially as we move forward and Obergefell continues to be helping us to understand the relationship that we have with one another and the ability that we have to contribute in the public square.
I know Justice Thomas says Kim Davis may have been one of the first victims of, quote, the court's cavalier treatment of religion in its Obergefell decision, but she will not be the last. How has that decision impacted religious freedom since it was issued, and what happens now for Kim Davis?
Well, it's a big question with regard to Kim Davis. She's no longer county clerk in Kentucky, but the case that's been brought against her is continuing, and she's asked for qualified immunity, and that's been rejected by the courts. We'll see what happens as that case goes along, but there's another case that's coming before the Supreme Court this term, which touches upon the issue of opposition to same-sex marriage, and that involves the Archdiocese of Philadelphia's foster care program. And the Archdiocese has refused requests to certify same-sex couples, pointing to Catholic teaching on the nature of marriage. And the court's going to look at that issue and whether or not their right to participate in this government program should be preserved under religious freedom, or whether they can be excluded from their centuries-long foster care contributions.
Yeah, I want to go back to Obergefell right now. In the opinion, Justice Thomas wrote, quote, the court has created a problem that only it can fix. And some are suggesting that means Obergefell could be revisited in the future. Do you think that's likely?
You know, I'm not sure if it will be revisited. What I do think when I read that statement was that they're looking at the importance of carving out religious exemptions and accommodations. And that's something that the court's decision in 2015 did not clearly explain. It recognized that there's a First Amendment protections for people who hold traditional views on marriage. And the recent decision in Bostock mentions that there are going to be people opposed to certain gender ideology or homosexual identifications as well. I think that the court is going to be facing the issue of how can we respect religious freedom as well as these new read into rights that the court has made over the last few decades.
Andrea, we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to talk about another case I know you know a lot about. Next month, the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in the case of Sharon L. Fulton versus the city of Philadelphia. Let's talk quickly about that case. What's under consideration, and also what are the implications for religious freedom?
Well, yes, Tracy, this is one of what I believe to be one of the most important religious freedom cases in over a decade that the court's going to be looking at. And as I mentioned before, it's the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, their long-standing relationship with the city of Philadelphia in placing needy kids in foster homes. When they were asked what to certify same-sex couples, they refused to do so, but they came up with their own accommodation. They mentioned that they would refer any same-sex couple that came to them, and none ever had, to any of the other agencies working with the city. That's the kind of accommodation that allows religious believers and new rights to kind of coexist and work hand in hand, especially to address the needs of the most vulnerable around us. I think that the court's going to decide in favor of religious freedom, and I think it's going to decide in favor of needy kids.
Well, Andrea, thank you so much for your time today. We always appreciate it. Andrea Pachati-Baer, director of the Conscious Project. Thank you again.
Thanks, Tracy.